Gigi Sohn, founder and CEO of Public Knowledge. Gigi, Andy Kessler, Silicon Valley troublemaker, wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal saying it's time to shut the FCC down over this net neutrality debacle. Is he right? Have the FCC done anything right in the last week?
Well, in the last week, ask me in the last 18 months. I mean, the FCC hasn't done a whole heck of a lot in the last 18 months, and I think they're finally starting to get it right. I mean, I think whether the FCC has done the right thing in the last week and whether the FCC should be shut down are two completely different questions. Look, I'm glad they finally have circulated an order that will set rules of the road for an open internet. Am I happy with everything they've done? No. There are three things in particular I like fixed, which I'm happy to talk about, but I don't think it's time to shut down the FCC quite yet. They've kind of shut themselves down over the last 18 months, so I'm actually happy to see them do something.
In 30 seconds to a minute, give our viewers an overview of where we're at.
So the FCC, well, the Chairman Janikowski, has circulated an order to the other commissioners, and he has moved forward under the FCC's ancillary authority, or under Title I. If you recall, there was a big dust-up as to whether the FCC would reclassify broadband internet access under Title II of the Communications Act, and basically, regulate broadband internet access under the same rules under which telephone service was regulated. The FCC has decided not to do that, okay? So they're going under Title I. They're trying out new theories, different theories than they used and lost when they argued the Comcast case. And essentially, they are adopting a non-discrimination rule for wired internet access, meaning that a wired internet access provider cannot favor certain bits over others. But for wireless, there's a lower standard. It's not full non-discrimination. It's just that a wireless provider cannot block websites and that cannot block video and voice telephony applications like Skype. So it's going a different route on wireless. It's allowing for so-called specialized services, which are priority services, which are services that are not provided over the broadband internet pipe or the public internet pipe, but separate pipe. And it says nothing, the FCC's order says nothing about paid prioritization on the open internet. And that's something that we care a lot about. So, like I said before, there are several things here which we're not crazy about. We're happy that there are some rules of the road. We're going to use the next 3 weeks to try to improve the order by leveraging the other two Democratic commissioners to ask for some changes.
Has Janikowski done an Obama and alienated everyone?
Yes. So let me give you a perfect example of that, okay? So usage-based pricing, that is, caps on how much bandwidth you can use before you have to pay more, has never been illegal, all right? But the chairman, in his speech introducing this order, went and blessed usage-based caps as, something that he was giving to the broadband industry. And what happened was he got a huge blowback because people were saying, oh my God, this is going to negatively affect Netflix. Netflix is one of the, growing companies in this sector. And he landed up, angering Netflix and other high bandwidth applications by blessing usage-based pricing. Now, as I said before, usage-based pricing was never illegal, but he basically said this is a good thing. So in his effort to try to, make everybody happy, he's made nobody happy.
What do you make of the fact that some of the most passionate opposition to this latest version comes from both what we might think of as the extreme left, the free press crowd, and the extreme right, the Tea Party group? Why is there this synergy now between radical left and right in its opposition to any kind of compromise in this situation?
Well, look, I think it's because on the extreme left, we've been fighting for this, and I don't count public knowledge in the extreme left, but I will say the extreme left has been fighting for this for 5 years. They feel like President Obama or candidate Obama made a promise to do net neutrality and strong net neutrality. And in fact, candidate Obama's promise was written by this FCC chairman. So I think what you're hearing from the extreme left is utter disappointment, not only with the Obama administration, but with this FCC generally. So I think that's where that comes from, is just frustration and having to wait so long. You know, we told the FCC not long after the Comcast oral argument happened in January that you've got to tee something up right away, get it done quickly. When the Google Verizon deal blew up, we said, look, the wind's at your back, do something. So now here we are at the 11th hour with a hostile Congress about to take hold here, and now we're basically digging for the scraps. So it's utter frustration. As far as the Tea Party is concerned, you know, I give AT&T a lot of credit. Some people spell it AT&TEA. They've invested a lot in the Tea Party. They've convinced the Tea Party folks that this is government regulation at its worst, government takeover of the internet. And fueled by that money, fueled by money from AT&T and Verizon, they're having a lot to say about it. So it's a great whipping boy for the Tea Party folks of the world, for the Glenn Becks of the world. So I think that's what gets them riled up. I think what gets the left riled up is just, you know, the promise not kept.
Final point. I'm not sure if I buy that argument. I mean, AT&T certainly, and to some extent Verizon, are on board with this compromise. So why would they also be trying to blow it up?
Well, Verizon is not on board at all, actually. In fact, Verizon wants the rules to sunset after 2 years, and that's not really on the table. AT&T's support is qualified. If you read their full press statement, you know, they were saying, well, you know, this is an okay compromise. We really think Congress should do this. But what prevents them? Look, if I was in their place, I'd do the same thing, right? I'd give the qualified support, and then I'd go to Congress where things are untransparent and try to blow it up. The fact of the matter is AT&T doesn't want these regulations. They've never wanted these regulations, but they're willing to play along. I think it's a very, very smart strategy on their part.
So very, very quickly, Gigi, in 15 seconds, is anything going to get done?
Something will get done. I think nobody's going to be ecstatic. It's going to be a compromise. The chairman sees himself more as a deal maker than a regulator. But I will tell you one thing for certain. If and when these rules happen, regardless of whether AT&T and Verizon are on board or not, the Republicans are going to go crazy, the Tea Partiers are going to go crazy, and the chairman's going to be hauled up to the Hill for investigations and oversight hearings, and it's going to be really unpleasant. And I think that's critical because the chairman wants to keep AT&T in the tent, but it's not going to save him. And I think that's really critical. Is he's going to get munched by the Republicans, regardless of whether AT&T says hip hip hooray or it gives them raspberries. It's not going to make a difference.